It started the way Detroit stories always do, not with fanfare, but with a flicker of heat in the air, the kind you feel before a summer storm rolls over the city. Out in Allen Park, the noise from the joint practice with Miami wasn't just pads popping and cleats grinding on turf. It was sharper, like every rep was personal. You could feel it in the way guys carried themselves, and you could sense the crowd, the few lucky enough to be close, leaning forward as if each snap might tip the balance of the season. We've been here before, staring down August whispers, wondering if the hype is fool's gold or the first glint of something real. But this felt different. It wasn't just a good day. It was a day that hinted at a storm surge in Honolulu blue. And if you've ever been shoulder to shoulder in a Ford Field tailgate in December, you know exactly how that kind of electricity tastes, equal parts hope and grit. So here's your first challenge, Lions fans. If this city's heartbeat means as much to you as it does to us, tap into that same energy right now. Make sure your voice is louder than the doubters, because if what unfolded today keeps rolling, it's going to demand all of us. The pivot point came when our offense, which had looked out of sync more than once this camp, suddenly found its rhythm against a defense that doesn't give away much. Jared Goff looked like he'd shaken the rust clean off, threading balls in the windows just wide enough to make you hold your breath. And right in the center of that transformation was Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun in our solar system burning. The Dolphins secondary to ash. First rep, one-on-one, straight down the sideline for 6. And it didn't stop. 4 for 4 in those drills, winning short mid, deep, even pulling off a helmet ping catch that'll be replayed in Detroit bars until closing time. The man just signed his contract, and instead of coasting, he's turning camp into a master class. And before anyone asks if Jameson Williams is coming for the WR1 crown, not this year, not with 14 locked in like this. But here's where it tilts. While St. Brown was torching Miami, other names were forcing their way into the conversation. Isaac Tesla taking first-team reps, the kind that whisper about a depth chart shakeup by October. Tim Patrick's not about to hand anything over. But this battle could turn our WR3 slot into the most-watched subplot of the early season. And then, situational football, the kind of drill where playoff teams separate from pretenders. 54 seconds on the clock, tie game, both sides starting from their own 30. Defense first, and they stonewalled Miami in 4 plays, mixing tight coverage with a perfectly timed PBU by Make Robertson. Offense steps in, and it's surgical. 25 yards to St. Brown, quick strikes to Brock Wright and Ronnie Bell. Penalty yardage gifted by Miami, and just like that, we're knocking on the door before Dan Campbell called it. You want turnovers. The second-team defense delivered. 3 picks and 7-on-7. Whiteside, Kinley, and Howlett all getting in on it, finally showing that the takeaways come in bunches mantra might stick. But here's the wrinkle. For all the talk about the defense being better, I'm holding my breath. Healthy bodies help, but real proof comes when the games count. We've fallen for August mirages before, and then there's Aiden Hutchinson. Last year's injury cut him down before his story could peak, but he's back now with a vengeance that's almost unfair. Today, he hit Miami's right tackle Larry Borum with a speed move so clean it looked rehearsed, then spun him inside, like a turnstile on the next snap. This is the kind of form that makes front offices sweat over the payroll, because if Brad Holmes doesn't lock him up early, we're staring at a record-setting non-QB contract in the offseason. Picture it. Lambeau Field, September 7th, Hutchinson. Across from a Packers tackle who already lost sleep last night just thinking about him. If he explodes this year, the ripple hits not just the salary cap, but the identity of this team. Because this isn't just about stats or headlines. It's about proving that last year's playoff push wasn't a fluke. That the grit we wore like armor in January is still there, sharper than ever. And if the Dolphins game was a taste of what's coming, the rest of the league better keep one eye on Detroit at all times. So here's the question, Lions Nation. Are we watching the start of a run that makes the NFC kneel, or is this just a cruel tease before another winter of what-ifs? The answer might be closer than you think, and it's barreling toward. Used like a blue and silver freight train. Lions Nation, if your pulse isn't spiking yet, then you weren't meant for nights like this. Because what's brewing out of Allen Park has the kind of edge that makes rival scouts burn through foam. Batteries trying to figure out our hand, and the kind of swagger that forces you to clear your calendar come September. We've got Isaac Tesla quietly rewriting the WR depth chart in August. The sort of slow burn story that could erupt if Tim Patrick slips for even a game. And the coaching staff is already tinkering with formations that screen flexibility too tight. And looks with Brock Wright sealing edges, while Zylstra sneaks behind coverage. Motion packages built to freeze St. Brown like a queen on a chessboard. And here's where it cuts deeper. Yamo Williams isn't shrinking from the challenge. His reps in joint practice sharper than some expected, which means every snap in preseason is a tug-of-war over target share that could tilt game, plans and locker room chemistry alike. Meanwhile, the defensive backfield is buzzing. Make Robertson's PBU in the 2-minute drill wasn't just a rep. It was a statement that depth pieces can win drives. And you know that sticks in Dan Campbell's mind when the 53-man roster gets its final ink. But peel back the curtain and you'll see the real chess match. Marcus Davenport's role. If he stays healthy, he gives Hutchinson a dance partner that could collapse pockets before quarterbacks even set their feet. If he falters, that pressure funnels back on Aiden, and we've seen too many seasons where one man bore the weight until his body gave out. And that's where the NFC North math creeps in Green Bay's line is big but slow-footed on the edges. Minnesota's rebuilt but untested. And Chicago's still praying their tackles are more than patch jobs, meaning Detroit could own the flanks by October if hell holds. Yet every veteran in the room remembers how fast a September high can turn into a November cold front. Just ask the 2016 squad that danced into a wild card spot only to see the offense sputter like an old engine when it mattered most. Speaking of engines, the talk in the trenches is that Panay Sewell's battles with Hutch this camp are the kind of steel on steel that forges playoff lines, but they also risk tempers boiling over. There's a reason joint practices with Miami got chippy, and you can bet Campbell doesn't mind a little fire as long as it doesn't turn into flags. And here's the wrinkle that could change the capboard. If Hutchinson plays to this level all year, Brad Holmes either pays up early or walks into a bidding war next spring that could force tough calls on extensions for guys like Allen McNeil or even Goff. Imagine the ripple locking up a generational pass rusher could mean letting a core piece walk. And every GM in the league knows those are the moves that define tenures. Add in the fact that the second-team defense picked off Zach Wilson 3 times in one session Whiteside, Kinley, and Howlett all getting theirs, and you start to see a team leaning into the takeaways in bunches. Mantra we begged for since Barry hung him up. But here's where it gets dangerous. Preseason illusions are easy to buy, and Detroit's been burned before. This next stretch, against live bullets, will decide whether these sparks catch or fade. Now picture this final preseason week. One roster spot left, and the choice is between a rookie wideout with upside and a special teams ace the locker room loves. That's the kind of decision that can fracture a room or cement its trust in the front office. So, Lions fans, are we about to watch a roster crystallize into the NFC's next powerhouse? Or is this just the last quiet breath before the grind strips away the shine? Either way, keep your eyes open, because the next snap might be the one. That writes the opening line of a season we'll never forget. Personally, I think this group has the mix we've been waiting for: top-end talent, hungry depth, and a chip you can see from the cheap seats. If they keep this edge into September, Ford Field won't just be loud. It'll be impossible for anyone to walk out of here with a win.